All right, today we're going to decode a mystery that is literally right in front of your eyes. Or, well, more accurately, in your eyes. We're talking about those weird little floaty things you sometimes see just drifting across your vision. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're looking at a bright, blank wall or maybe a clear blue sky, and boom, there it is. A little speck, maybe a transparent, worm-like thing, just floating by. You try to look right at it, and poof, it darts away, only to pop back into view when you look somewhere else. So your first thought might be, what is that? Is it a piece of dust on my eye? A tiny bug on my eyelashes? But here's the fascinating truth. That little swimmer isn't on the outside at all. It's actually located inside your eyeball. And of course, science has a name for them, musca volitantes. It's Latin for flying flies, which, you gotta admit, is a perfect description for how they seem to just zip around. And that name shows that people have been noticing and probably getting annoyed by these little visual quirks for centuries. Okay, so if they're not bugs, what on earth are they? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple. They're just tiny bits of debris floating around inside your eye. Could be little fragments of tissue, some stray red blood cells, or even just clumps of protein. And the crucial point here is that even though they move like they've got a life of their own, they are definitely not alive. So how can we even see them? Well, it all comes down to shadows. See, these tiny objects are suspended in the gel-like liquid that fills your eye. It's called the vitreous humor. As light comes into your eye, these floaters cast a teeny tiny shadow onto your retina. And your retina is basically the light-sensitive screen at the very back of your eyeball. So what you think of as a floater is really just the shadow it's making. But why are they sometimes super sharp and really distracting, while other times you barely even notice them? It all comes down to the simple physics of light and shadow. Think about it like this. If you hold your hand way up high above a table and there's a light right overhead, what does its shadow look like? It's all fuzzy and indistinct, right? The edges are super blurry. But now, as you bring your hand closer and closer to the table, that shadow gets sharp and really well defined. It's the exact same principle inside your eye. The closer a floater is to your retina, the sharper its shadow is, and yeah, the more noticeable it becomes to you. And that's why you see them most clearly when you're staring at something bright and uniform, like a blank computer screen, a fresh field of snow, or a clear blue sky. That consistent background just makes the shadow pop. Plus, when you're in bright light, your pupil gets smaller, which kind of acts like a spotlight, making those shadows appear even clearer. Okay, so we've pretty much got the dark, shadowy floaters figured out. But now, get ready for a twist, because there's another, almost opposite phenomenon you might have seen, and some people call them blue sky sprites. So instead of dark specks, have you ever seen little bright dots of light just zipping around when you look at that same blue sky? They move in these quick, squiggly paths that almost seem to follow your pulse. If you've seen this, you've experienced something completely different from floaters. So here's the key difference, as you can see right here. Floaters are shadows. They're dark spots caused by little bits of tissue blocking the light. But these sprites are the exact opposite. They're tiny little windows that are letting light through, and they're caused by your own white blood cells. Wait, seeing your own blood cells? How is that even possible? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's just a fascinating quirk of our own biology. So let's break down exactly how it works. Okay, so follow the journey here. You have these tiny little blood vessels, capillaries, that are stretched all across the surface of your retina. When a large white blood cell, a leukocyte, moves through one, it's a really tight squeeze. It's so big that it actually shoves the red blood cells out of the way, which creates this little gap of clear plasma in front of it. And here's the key part. Both that white blood cell and the plasma are more transparent to blue light than the red blood cells are. So what you see is a moving window of brighter light zipping along the path of your capillary. You are literally watching your own immune system at work. And here's an amazing little detail. If you look really closely, you might even see a dark tail trailing behind that bright dot. That's not a shadow. That's the clump of red blood cells that got pushed aside, and now they're just following right behind the bigger white blood cell. It's like a tiny microscopic traffic jam playing out in real time right inside your eye. So you've got shadows from debris, and you've got these little windows from your own blood cells. These visual quirks, they aren't just trivia. They're actually a pretty powerful reminder about the nature of sight itself and what it really means to see. Now, before we finish up, a really, really important point.
For the most part, these floaters and sprites are completely normal, and our brains are amazing at just filtering them out. But, and this is critical, if you ever notice a sudden and dramatic increase in floaters, it could be a sign of a more serious issue. So if you ever experience any sudden changes in your vision, it's always best to consult a doctor. Ultimately, these floaters and sprites are an incredible reminder of a simple fact. Our vision isn't a perfect, clear window onto the world. It's an active process. It's filtered and constructed by the biology of our eyes and the interpretation of our brain. So the next time you see one of those flying flies drift by, just remember what you're really seeing. It's not a flaw, but a feature, a beautiful little glimpse into the wonderfully complex machine of perception itself.